shedkings.com.
And a big thank you to the Shed Kings, Curtis and Anthony down in Star Valley for sponsoring our KRIM Community Spotlight program. Well, good morning, Rim Country. Chris Higgins in the studio on this beautiful Tuesday morning. Hope you're having a great morning, and we can expect slightly cooler temperatures today. It seems like back down in the 80s today and throughout the week, which will be very, very nice. Well, this morning on our Community Spotlight program, we're going to be talking about the Payson Book Festival, and that is happening July 19th, and that's Saturday, July 19th, excuse me, from 9 to 2:30 p.m. at the Mazatzal Hotel and Casino. And we have a couple authors on our program today that are going to share their experiences about the Payson Book Festival, and you'll get to learn a little bit more about them as well and the books that they have written. So in the studio, we have author Maria Greenhall. Good morning, Maria.
Good morning, Chris.
And on the phone, we have Jonathan Pembroke. Good morning, Jonathan.
Good morning, Chris, and good morning, Maria.
Yeah, thank you both for being on the program this morning to talk about this year's Payson Book Festival. And it is the 10th annual Payson Book Festival, a wonderful event that happens at the Mazatzal Hotel and Casino, free admission, and it is an event for all ages. There will be a lot for the kids to do at this event, and books for everyone. Over 80 Arizona authors that are represented at the Payson Book Festival. So we're going to start with you, Maria. You've been at the Payson Book Festival before. How many years have you attended? Or
I've attended twice.
Okay.
The first time it was simply to take a look at the books and purchase books and get to meet authors. And then the second time I did get an opportunity to be a vendor, and it was a wonderful experience.
Gotcha. Now, you are a resident of Payson?
Yes.
Wonderful.
I'm a resident of Payson.
It amazes me how many authors we have in this community.
Absolutely. It's such a wonderful and peaceful community. It really lends itself to just you sitting down and putting your thoughts on paper and really bringing your stories to life. It's a beautiful place that we live in.
It really is. So what are the books that you have written so far?
Well, to tell you a little bit about my books, I'll have to go back to 2020 when my husband and I retired. I retired because I wanted the opportunity to actually have the time to spend with my mother. She was in very, very bad health. So I retired to be able to spend quality time with her. Unfortunately, she passed. COVID hit, she passed away, and to deal with my grief, I decided to sit down and write a book about unconditional love. And so the first book that I wrote is called Beautiful Daughter, Te quiero mucho. Te quiero mucho in Spanish means I love you very much. And it's basically the story of a mother who loves her daughter very, very much, but her daughter is different. She is not into dolls. She doesn't like big parties. She doesn't like curly hair or anything girly. So it's a story about how the mother grew to accept her daughter just the way that she was. And as it turns out, she grew up to be a wonderful person, a very successful young lady. And it's a book that I would recommend to daughters and mothers alike. And the book, unfortunately, actually came out the day before my mom passed. So I didn't have a lot of time to do marketing for that one, but if you read the reviews, it's gotten wonderful, wonderful reviews from people all over the world. And then, of course, my second book was A Turtle's Hero. I was inspired by a trip that we took to San Carlos, Mexico, and we did a baby turtles release, and so it inspired me to write a story about kindness and conservation.
So now looking at your book, Beautiful Daughter, and I don't know, possibly even a Turtles Hero, were they released in English and Spanish?
The first book, I wrote it in Spanish.
Okay.
So I have 3 versions. I have the English version, I have the Spanish version, I'm bilingual, and then I paid someone to actually translate it to French.
Oh.
So I wanted really a wide population to be able to have access to the book. The second book, A Turtle's Hero, the entire story is written in English and in Spanish in the same book.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay.
So I have that version, and then I have the version that's entirely in English, because that should be available as well.
That's such a great idea. I'm trying to think if I've ever seen that before, but a book, and a Turtle's Hero. Now, it is a children's book. What ages? Is that
It's
for?
from 3 to 8,
3 to 8.
but I can tell you that it appeals to older audience as well. One of the readings that I did at Noli's, there was a young lady that was, I would say, I think she was 15, Nehemiah, and she loved turtles, and she absolutely loved the book. There was also a lady about my age, let's say older than 50, okay? And she was sitting in the back of the room, and she was very engaged in the story, and afterwards she came up to me, and with tears in her eyes, she said, "You know what, I'm here because turtles were my mother's spirit animal, so I was very touched by your story." So it appeals to really a wide audience.
And what I was going to say was, it's just a great idea to have English and Spanish in the same book.
Oh, absolutely.
Why,
Absolutely.
you know, with, and especially a children's book, I guess, I would ask, you know, the need to have, you know, the 2 different versions when you can put them together like that.
Absolutely. It's a great value.
Yeah.
Because I want this to be available to parents, but I do not want them to have to purchase 2 separate books if they want the Spanish version and the version in English.
Is that something you saw in other books, or something that you just kind of thought of?
I don't remember, I'm sure it exists, I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
but-
However, I thought about it because I'm very much aware of the need to make sure that it's affordable for parents.
No, that, yeah, just a very interesting concept, and I could see that working very, very well. Jonathan, so now a little bit about you. Will this be your first time at the Payson Book Festival?
No, I've been a vendor there for several years. I want to say this will be my 4th, but it might be my 3rd, and I've also attended a few times previously as a shopper. You know, it's such a great venue that when I went in and saw it, and because I, like a lot of authors, I also like to read a lot, and looking for books, seeing it, and meeting authors, kind of encouraged me to set up there, and it's been rewarding every year, so we keep coming back.
Gotcha. So now you reside in Snowflake, so you come down for the Payson Book Festival, and it's funny because I think not a lot of the authors, but there are, it seems like authors that are outside of RIM country, you know, a lot of them seem to come up from the valley, but you and a few others traveling down to Payson.
We are, and there are actually a surprising number of authors up here in the White Mountains area, in the Show Low, Pine Top, Snowflake area as well. It seems like every time I turn around, I'm meeting a new one, and we try to talk up the book festival to newer authors and encourage them to come out and try it.
So now, when did you get or start writing, Jonathan?
Oh, I'm to kind of piggyback on what Maria said. I'm now pushing somewhere past 50, but it's been since I was a teenager. I actually have always enjoyed writing, but I don't think I ever really tried to take it seriously because obviously life gets in the way and other things happen. I was active duty military for 20 years, and then after I retired, and my wife and I moved out here. My son is grown and out of the house, has his own family, and we were financially comfortable. My wife said, "Look, you always enjoyed writing. Why don't you really try and make an effort at it?" And I did, and I've been going strong ever since. I published my first book in 2019, and I've been sticking with it since then.
Gotcha. What branch did you serve in?
I was in the Air Force.
Oh, so was I. It
I was a
seem-
meteorologist.
Yeah, okay. Seems like there are quite a few that served in the Air Force. I know Connie Cockrell here in Payson, and one of the founders of the Payson Book Festival, served in the Air Force. And then I believe Kathleen, I forget her last name.
Osborne.
Kathleen Osborne. She served in the Air Force as well.
Yes, and then Kathleen and Connie and I have all had kind of extensive conversations, just creating war stories, as it were.
There you go. So tell us a little bit about your books, Jonathan.
Well, I have a couple of series. I write fantasy for the most part, and I have a couple of different series out. My most popular one is called The Holly Sisters. It's a trilogy, and it is about two fairies that are sisters, and these fairies run a street gang of other fairies, and they're competing with the other gangs of mythical creatures for control of their city's underworld. And these are not, like Tinkerbell fairies. They're not sweet. They're gangsters, so they're brawling and drinking and loan sharking and that kind of thing. And so it's kind of a rough and tumble version of that. And the series is complete. The trilogy is a complete story. Although I am getting ready to release the first book in a new trilogy with the same characters. So I hope to have that in my hands by the time the book festival comes around in a couple weeks. Fingers crossed. The next one is a series called Tales of Bleakwater. It's a series of short novels. It's kind of open-ended. It's more episodic. It's the same characters and the same themes, the same world, but they're more self-contained stories. It's more of a traditional sword and sorcery type of a book, and rather than being set in a city, it's kind of got adventure and magic and so on. I have a 2-book set called The Way of the Pathfinder. That kind of straddles the line between science fiction and fantasy. It's set far in our future. It's kind of dystopian fantasy, where after society collapsed and tried to rebuild itself. That's a 2-book set that's complete. And last, I wrote, because I had so many times I had a younger reader, somewhere in the age of 11 or 12, who would walk up and they would see my book covers and they would say, "Oh, can I read this?" And I'd have to look at their parents and say, this may not be appropriate, because most of my stuff is written at an adult level, just such a matter of theme. So I wanted to have something on the table for a younger reader. So I wrote a book. It's called The Lady and the Librarian. It's the first book in that series called Protectors of Bladia. It is written for, in fantasy terms, the Harry Potter crowd. Somebody who reads at that 5th or 6th grade type of subject matter. It's very clean. Obviously, there's a little bit of fighting, but it's not graphic. So it's kind of suitable for that. And I try to tell people, if you're a reader who likes something along the lines of The Hobbit, this one is for you. Most of the rest of my stuff is written for people who would enjoy the Game of Thrones type of material.
Gotcha. And now you have another book that is, I believe, coming out later this year. That will be the second book in that series, Wrath of the Frozen King.
Yes, that'll be the sequel to Lady and the Librarian. They'll also be for younger readers.
All right. So what got you into, I guess, fantasy or science fiction? Why did you choose that genre?
I will blame my parents 100%.
As we all do. Come on.
I'm very young. I don't remember exactly, but I want to say 6 or 7. I remember my father reading to me, as as a bedtime story, kind of consecutively over the course of several weeks, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, very popular old fantasy book, and that really hooked me. The whole idea, the concept of something magical happening outside our world really sank its teeth into my mind, and from then on, I was just kind of lost. I've been a fan of fantasy ever since. And though my taste has changed a little bit, like I said, I've grown and my tastes have grown with them, I still have always enjoyed it. And I kind of tease some of my friends that write works that in our world, is realistic fiction, that they have to make that, they have to do the research to get things right. For example, if you write that down in your book set in Scottsdale, and you say on the corner of Street X and Street Y that there's this store, you're going to get somebody who comes back to you and says, "Hey, look, kind of the benefit of writing fantasy, but I just have always enjoyed the endless possibility. And of course, being a weatherman in the Air Force, I was already kind of a paid liar to begin with.
No, come on, you were right 50% of the time.
That's right, and those were the 50%, that coin came up heads.
Well, if you're just tuning in or you just started watching our Community Spotlight live stream, we're talking about the 10th Annual Payson Book Festival taking place Saturday, July 19th, and that's at the Mazatzal Hotel and Casino. It's from 9 a.m. to 2:30 p.m., and admission is free. There'll be 80-plus Arizona authors in attendance, and today we are speaking to a couple authors, Jonathan Pembroke, who will be at this year's Payson Book Festival, and then also Maria Greenhall, who has been at the Payson Book Festival before, and just they're sharing about their books and the Payson Book Festival. So Maria, have you been at other book festivals with your books?
In Las Vegas, there's
Las
a
Vegas.
huge event.
I would imagine
in
it's
Vegas.
a little bigger than
Thousands.
Payson.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thousands of authors,
Wow.
seminars, editors, illustrators. It's a week-long event. And then at the end of the week, people have the opportunity to sell their books. So I've done that 2 years in a row, and
Wow.
I've been very successful with that.
Wow. You mentioned illustrators, and I'd have to believe that the illustrator is a big part of your books. They're very visual, very visual, the
Absolutely.
colors. So how did you choose your illustrator?
I did a lot of research.
Okay.
I joined a lot of Facebook groups, a lot of Instagram groups, because I was looking for someone who could capture the beauty of the Sea of San Carlos and could do it. Yes, it's for children, but it was important for me to make sure that the colors, for example, the colors of the ocean, that the fish look like the fish that you would find at the Sea of Cortez. So I was very, very particular, because for me, it's not just the story that is wonderful. I love art. So for me, the illustrations are very, very important in the books that I write.
Yeah, it's you're really drawn in. That initially is what draws you in when books, you see them on the table or online, wherever it is. It's the cover.
Absolutely.
The cover that draws people.
It
in.
makes a huge difference. It makes a huge difference.
And Jonathan, you had mentioned that you'd have children come up to the table, ask about your books, and I'd have to say because of the covers and looking at just one of your books, Rumble in Wood Hollow, the Holly Sisters, the covers are just, the artwork is very impressive.
Yeah, the Holly Sisters series, I did a lot of the covers for other books myself, but in that series, I actually had found a cover artist to do them, and they do draw the eye. And in fact, the third book in that series is the one I have on my business card and the t-shirts I wear when I'm out selling, because it is so eye-catching. I actually found online a young woman from Paraguay, of all places, who did graphic design and artwork, and her prices were very reasonable, and she was extremely accommodating and worked with me, and she produced 3 fantastic covers. I couldn't have been more happy. And I actually went back to her with my new series now to get her to do that one as well. For the follow-up trilogy with the same characters. She's really fantastic, and I have gotten so many positive responses to that. And because you mentioned the covers, it's just interesting, because I personally am not a cover guy. When I read a book, I read it based on the blurb on the back, or somebody who recommends it. It took me a long time to kind of recognize that covers were important to most readers, even if they weren't to me. It was kind of a hard lesson to learn, but that was good to recognize how important it is to draw the eye. Even though, like I said, it wasn't personally important to me, that doesn't mean it's not important to everybody else. And it was very important to find good, eye-catching artwork to bring people in.
Gotcha. It's interesting because your illustrator, Maria, where is she from?
From the Philippines.
From the Philippines. So
yeah.
both of you finding illustrators outside of the country.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I would be delighted to find, and I haven't done much research, excuse me, but an illustrator from Payson. I would love to do that, to work with someone from here.
Yeah, there's, I'm sure, Rim Country artists. There are some amazing artists. And yeah, the community draws so many creative people. So you see authors here, and then artists, the Rim Country artists again, have just a growing club. And both are featured and highlighted at Noli's. Noli's, which is a wonderful bookstore, an art gallery, coffee shop, hangout. So yeah, it is really great to see. And Jonathan, I know I asked Kathleen this, but have you ever been to Noli's down here in Payson?
I have not. Whereabouts is it in town?
It is not far from the main 87-260 intersection. It's in the complex that's behind the McDonald's, right there on the corner. There's a furniture store, Legacy Furnishings, Home Furnishings, and an urgent care, and it is right there. And it is fairly newer, but great little store that features local authors and their books.
Okay, I'll check that out.
So again, Payson Book Festival is an event for all ages. It's happening Saturday, July 19th from 9 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. It is free admission, and 80 plus Arizona authors. And also for the kids, want to mention there's a kids zone that is hosted by the Gila County Library District, and they'll be reading children's stories. When children come in, they'll start reading a story. They'll also be doing different arts and crafts that are book themed. And again, there are authors there with children's books and a variety of books. You can check out all of the authors that will be at the book festival on the Payson Book Festival website. It's paysonbookfestival.org, and it lists all the authors that will be there, and it has links to their websites, pictures of their books, so you can get an idea, again, of who is going to be there before you even go to the festival. And Maria, you had something that you wanted to share,
Absolutely.
I believe.
I have a message for the Spanish-speaking audience, but before we do that, I'd like to thank you and Jonathan for your service to our country.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Thank you very much. And I'd like to mention that Heidi from Noli's is
an Air Force veteran as
exactly.
well.
Yes.
Yeah, that's funny. She worked in finance, finance director in the Air Force. So yeah, big Air Force connection here in Payson, Jonathan.
Yeah, and she does a wonderful job supporting local authors, Jonathan. So I would definitely go talk to Heidi, definitely. But without further ado, un saludo a las personas de habla hispana en Payson. Gracias por escucharnos. Los invito a que participen en el Festival de Libros de Payson, que se lleva a cabo el sábado 19 de julio a las 9 de la mañana hasta las 2:30 de la tarde en el casino de Payson llamado Mazatzal. La entrada es gratuita. Van a tener juegos para los niños, muchos libros de venta y hasta rifas. Más de 70 autores van a participar. Este año yo no voy a estar presente, pero mis libros están siempre de venta en la tienda llamada Noli's aquí en Payson. Espero les gusten. Que tengan un buen día.
You know, I 2 years of Spanish in Pennsylvania, and first time I went to Mexico, I realized how lost I was. I should have paid closer attention in class. Mrs. Gonzalez, I still remember, a wonderful, wonderful teacher, Palisades High School in Pennsylvania, and boy, I just didn't pay close enough attention. I should have paid a little more attention to that. So Jonathan, really look forward to meeting you at this year's Payson Book Festival.
Well, thanks, Chris. I'd love to see you there, and I hope everybody who's listening considers coming on out. It's a lot of fun, and it's a chance to pick up some great books and meet a lot of neat people.
Yes, and you know, I didn't get a chance to ask you. I want to hear, though, your experiences, Jonathan. Have you been to other book festivals?
I have been to a couple of others. There is one in Scottsdale that is up on the north side of the 101 that they are having, I think, their third one. I was there last year and I'm going back this year. And we actually are having our own White Mountains Book Festival on August 9th up here in Show Low. It'll be our second one. The first one was a nice success. And if people would like to come up, you know, anybody wants to come up and get out of the heat in the mountains, it's a great way to come spend the weekend. So, and at some point, you know, the dream is I'd love to get down to the Tucson Festival of Books and be able to set up there, but we're not there yet, so.
No, that is great. I remember Kathleen mentioned the book festival up in Show Low, and it's great to see one being started up there. I know Connie, she talked about how the Payson Book Festival, her and I forget who it was, but her and someone else went to another book festival in rural Arizona, came back and said, hey, we can do that, you know, right here in Payson. So they started the Payson Book Festival, and it sounded like, talking to Kathleen, it was a similar experience where her and maybe others came down to the Payson Book Festival and said, we need to do this up in Show Low.
So that's kind of what happened, and I sit on the planning committee with Kathleen for that, and we're gearing up for our book festival, but we're certainly also looking forward to the one in Payson. We'll see a different group of people and different group of authors, so we always enjoy that. We always enjoy meeting everyone and just talking about books. It's a fun time.
Mm-hmm. It certainly is. And that's something that I didn't mention in this program. I like to mention each time is the Payson Book Festival is an amazing opportunity for you to talk to the authors. You get to meet the authors, talk to the authors, ask them questions. If you have any interest at all in writing, or maybe you've started a book, but you're stuck, you don't know, where to go, what the next step is, all of the authors are just so friendly, and from talking to the authors, they're very encouraging and willing to help you out, willing to give you maybe a connection or a name, a number, somebody that can help, or maybe even they are willing to help. So it's just a great group of authors, of people that love talking about their books, their inspiration, and just answering questions. So again, and really of all ages, children love asking questions. So I'm sure you get a lot of questions, Maria, from children about your books.
Mostly, what made you want to write a book?
Mm-hmm.
How did you get started? I mean, they're amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Little kids are amazing. They're already thinking about what they want to do in the future. And there are a number of young authors that have been already successful in writing their books.
Wow.
That
is great to see.
Absolutely. And then some of them are curious about the characters.
I love when I see the young authors start, but if anybody's hearing this, it's never too late to start, because we know people that did not publish their first book until they were 70 or older. So if you have that idea and you want to do it, please don't, it's never too late to get started.
Yeah, almost good. Never too early, never too late.
That's true.
If you have that desire, yes, and it's something that you want to do. Wow, so thank you. Thank you so much, Jonathan, for being on the program this morning.
Thank you for having me, Chris, and thank you, Maria. I hope we may not see you this year, but hopefully next year.
Looking forward to it, Jonathan.
And thank you, Maria, for coming in and for sharing. And thank you to everyone listening and watching today. Again, hope to see you out July 19th at the 10th Annual Payson Book Festival at the Mazatzal Hotel and Casino. Also want to thank our sponsors, the Shed Kings, for sponsoring the KRIM Community Spotlight program. We'll hear from them, and then an update from the National Weather Service, and then it's back to the music here on KRIM with the Rolling Stones, Jackson Browne, Pure Prairie League, and more. Hope you guys have a beautiful rest of your day.
Thank you.
Welcome to Shed Kings, offering 2 convenient locations in Star Valley and Overgard, Arizona.
Hey there, I'm Curtis. And I'm Anthony. And we're the Shed Kings, home of the rent-to-own, no-credit check program.
We offer barns, sheds, garages, cabins, and steel buildings, all built to last. Proudly representing Graceland Portable Buildings, industry leaders for over 20 years. Need something larger? We also represent American Steel Buildings for unmatched durability and the best warranties in the business. Quality matters. If there was a better constructed building on the market, we would be selling it.
Shed Kings made it so easy. The quality's unbeatable. I loved it so much, I joined the team.
Enjoy enhanced floor and wall durability, optimized fasteners, and budget-friendly options. Choose from a wide variety of styles and
You're welcome. So did that go?
It's my first
First-
ever.
That's right. I saw on your Instagram page and your
Yes,
first interview.
Yes, so I really appreciate it.
It went
I felt comfortable.
Good.
You made it very comfortable.
good.
You made
good.
it very comfortable. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I really,
That's-
what a great community we